one of the things I think about with equanimity and composure is I was once told, not by anybody in this room, but I was once told that if I would just read this book and follow what it says, my problems would all go away. Wouldn't have any problems. It's even in some of the songs we sing sometimes. But that's not true. That book does have the answers, but the answers are on how to deal with the problems. We're still going to have problems, right? We're still going to have people that hurt us, people that we love that hurt us. We have all this stuff, all this worldly crap that still goes on. It's going to continue to go on. It's not going to stop just because I decided to read that book. So, but it does teach me how to deal with it and how I can have a better life and how I can have a better relationship with God as we go through this, because what happened before was if things went great, I thought I was wonderful. If things went crappy, I thought it was God's fault, right? So either way, I was taking God out of the picture. So it was like this big yo-yo that kept going back and forth all day long. When things got better, things got worse. So equanimity, I have some definitions of it. I'll read to you here. The first thing I noticed that was really different for me was most of the time in our studies, we find that that culture has taken things from the Hebrew words and turned it into ours. Ooh, there we're going again. This time, there's a Hebrew word and an English word that was taken from the Latin word. So the Latin word for equanimity is, I practiced this like 10 times just an hour ago. Equanimitas. Is that it? Cool. Having an even mind. Aquus is even. Animus is mind and soul. It's a state of psychology, a state of psychological stability and composure which is undisturbed by experience or exposure to emotions, pain, or other phenomena that may cause others to lose the balance of their mind. The virtue and value of equanimity is extolled and advocated by a number of major religions and philosophies. So again, it's saying the world's still going to happen, but it's not going to control me. And we're going to go into a little bit later on how we get there. But like they said with major philosophies, this is what my idea of equanimity was when I had to teach my kids how to swim. Okay? If you just relax, you just stay calm, make your mind quiet, you'll float. You can't sink if you can just stay calm. But they don't. They get all panicky and stuff. So that's what happens to them. They go from equanimity to stress. And that's what life is like. If you can just stay in your right mind, because anything that happens, it always ends up okay in the end. I mean, it's terrible when it's happening, but if we can just hold off long enough to get through it, it all seems to work out in the end. The Buddhist word is apeka. The Muslims have aslama. The Hebrews have hishtavut. Hishtavut. That's the one. In the oh boy, this is the one. Ali's going to say the word in the book of the. Oh, okay. I'm not even there. I'm somewhere else. Never mind. So, in the epic poem of the warrior of Arjuna, they speak the Hindu Samatvan. The Greeks have euthymia and what did we say that was, Ali? Heshia. And then in English, it's Hebrew. But in plain English, to be steady while the world spins around you, to act without frenzy, to hear only what needs to be heard, and to possess the quietude, exterior and interior, on command. Now, this is why it's a big deal. even if you don't care about the religious part of it. This is a big deal. 7.1% of children, I got this, this is from the CDC, Elizabeth got me these statistics. 7.1% of children aged 3 to 17, approximately 4.4 million are diagnosed with anxiety. What in the world? Why would a kid even need to be anxious? You know, what are we doing to these kids that we're making them that anxious? 3.2% of children aged 3 to 17, approximately 1.9, are diagnosed with depression. Last year, 4 of 10 adults in the US reported symptoms of anxiety or depression. So if 4 out of 10 adults are, clean up my chair, messed up, how possibly are they going to keep their kids from being messed up? Kids do what we do. So if we're anxious about stuff, if we can't control our emotions, then they're going to do the same thing. They're going to act the same way we do. So it's a big enough problem that we have to address it. It's well documented that great leaders and achievers in society today and in history have found some way to find stillness. That's so they can think, so they can plan, so they can execute. It takes a stillness to do that. You can't, the leader can't be the one screaming and yelling, we're all going to die. The leader's got to be able to get through this, right? And lead the people. Matt always often talks about meditation. And this is weird that I'm teaching this one here because I call this stuff psychobabble, right? But it really did get to me. So I mean, it really got through to me as I was learning this. But with equanimity, I read a big article on from Rabbi Chaim Vital. I wonder if he's the guy that does the hair stuff. Vital, right? No, not that guy. Okay. Equanimity is a prerequisite to meditation. His words were, behold, after a person is worthy of the secret of devakut, which is bonding with God, one may become worthy of the secret of hishtavut, which is equanimity. If a person is worthy of attaining equanimity, one may become worthy of attaining, I'm just going to say meditation. After a person is worthy of reaching a level of meditation, one may become worthy of divine inspiration, and one may become worthy of prophecy. But the trick to it is the first part. If we don't have the bond with God, if we don't know that whatever has happened is supposed to happen, or that there's a solution that God's got in mind for it, if we don't know that, then we can't meditate. You can't truly meditate because if you're trying to meditate and you're thinking, oh my God, you know, this person said this about me and that person said that about me and this is going wrong and that's going wrong. And how do you get your mind still? You got to find a way to close all that out, close the spinning of the world out so that you can focus directly on God, and then meditation can happen. And then all these other things can happen, which is really cool. One of the rabbis says about equanimity, of two persons, one of them honor you, and the second one insults you. Are they equal in your eyes? If you have equanimity, they are. One will not affect you any more than the other one. So we're going to go to the whiteboard here for a minute. And what I would like, I was going to go around the room, but man, we got a lot of people here tonight, which is great. Let's talk about some things that stress you out. So people just call out some things that stress you out. Gas prices. Hey, what happens at the Camp Hope stays at Camp Hope, so we won't tell them you said that, okay? What was the other one? Family.
I think we should say spouse.
Work.
Blue said spouse.
Yeah, it's neutral.
World news.
Exactly.
I think of things like, I was thinking about things like traffic. You're going downtown, if you have to go downtown and stuff, traffic is a real problem, right? Moving. Finances.
Children.
Especially mine. She is here, right? Yeah, there she is. Make sure I wasn't talking behind her back. Planning. So most of these things on here, you can't avoid them, right? Can't avoid the gas prices are going to be here. You can try to avoid your family, but they normally keep coming back anyway. Work, you got to work. News is news. Traffic is always there. Eventually you have to move. Finances are always a problem. Children are a problem. Planning is a problem. So the question is how do you deal with them? Well, if you're going to find equanimity, you have to deal with them. You can't avoid them. Most people know that I spent 10 years in the submarine force. The military goes to great extent to train people. They don't use the word equanimity, but to train people so that they don't panic and they don't lose control in emergency situations, in war and catastrophe and everything that goes on in there, right? So in the submarine force, we go to, before you get into the submarine force, you have to go to submarine school up in Groton, Connecticut, where they put you through a lot of psychological training to make sure you're going to be able to handle it. One of the things we do is an escape tower because submarines are under the water. The theory is eventually they might sink and be stuck on the bottom, and they want you to be able to escape out of the submarine. In reality, that's never going to happen because we don't even dive the boat till we're past the 100 fathom curve, which is 600 feet. And if you're set on the bottom there and you got out going out of the boat, it would just crush you. But we do this to make mommies happy, you know, because we have these things in there to make moms let their boys go in there. So that tank is 150 feet high, and it's filled with water. And you enter at the bottom in that room there, and they equalize the pressure with the tank, with the water pressure in the tank, and you go out into it, and you come up to the surface. One of the really cool things about it is, no matter how long it takes you to get up there, you constantly exhale all the way up. Because as you go up higher, the pressure gets lighter and the air in your lungs expands. So if you wouldn't take, I mean, you're gonna automatically go up, you're gonna float right on up automatically. But if you would take an hour, you would still be exhaling the whole time. You never inhale, you're always exhaling. You don't wear a tank, you don't wear anything like that. It's just straight exhaling. So we do that a number of times until we can do that without panicking. So, and now in training, there's divers in there to help the people that panic. Now in these submarines, most of my time in submarines I spent in the old diesel boat submarines. One I spent the most time on was 219 feet long, and that's not very long for a ship. After the equipment was in there, if you looked at the square footage of actual floor space we have, it's probably about the size of the average house or a little smaller. And we had 89 men and 11 officers. I always thought that was kind of an insult to the officers to say you got 89 men and then 11 officers. It is what it is. But that's a picture of a control room. In that control room there, you would have at a minimum 6 people and sometimes as many as 10 people working steadily. You walk around like this all the time so you don't bump your head. You go through these hatches all the time. They're called knee knockers. And in, what was it, 1979, I believe it was, when we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, not the Cuban Missile Crisis, 1979 when they took the hostages in Iran. Most of you don't even, most of you weren't even born yet. But in 1979, Iran used to be a really cool country, and we were friends with them, and we trained with Iranians, and they trained over here in the United States. We had a really good relationship. In 1979, they had a revolution, and they took over Iran. The one sect took over Iran, and when they did that, they captured our embassy, and a lot of our diplomats and a lot of our civilians were captured. There's a great movie out about it, and it's really one of the few that it's spot on. I mean, they didn't mess up anything. I watched the movie, I had it right on. But we deployed immediately. We set out in the Persian Gulf for 110 days. Okay, 110 days in this little box. We weren't like the modern submarines. We have to carry everything we had. We didn't make water and stuff like that. So we had freshwater tanks that were filled with water. So that meant showers were very rare because we couldn't spare the water, right? So you do what's called hot racking, because there wasn't enough beds for everybody. So you had 2 racks for 3 people. So when one person was on watch, the other ones could sleep. You know? So this tight relationship here requires equanimity. Believe me, I didn't know what it was at the time, but it requires equanimity. I mean, if you've ever had in-laws over for a week, you know by the end of the week, you're ready to get them out of your house, right? But these, except for you, of course. But so, and we stood, and in the submarine, you had to, every person in there has to qualify on every piece of equipment and everybody's job in the boat, because we just didn't have any spare people. We didn't have any backup people. So if the torpedoman got sick or died or something, then somebody else had to be the torpedoman today. So this was, and that's the point. Training. We did drills and drills and drills and drills. Every time we turned around, they were doing a drill. And that's how you get through that stuff. You don't avoid it. You keep doing it. You keep doing it until you can do it, and keep your head and keep your calm and find that equanimity, find that peace so that it doesn't bother you. Some of the people, surprisingly enough, that surprised me when I think about this, is the customers at the coffee house. These guys have equanimity, right? Because there's no way I would get in that line. You ever see this wrapped all the way around the gallery? What are you, nuts? Why would I want to be in that line, right? But they figured it out. They play on their phones, or they do Facebook or whatever it is they do, and they're perfectly fine with it. That's what we're talking about. When you can get in a traffic jam and be perfectly fine and it not ruin your day, or you can have somebody say something insulting to you and it not ruin your day. Eleanor Roosevelt. I am the farthest thing from a liberal you ever want to see. But Eleanor Roosevelt had a great saying. She used to say, "You can't take my dignity without my consent." So no matter what anybody says about you, you have to let that matter to you. That's a choice that you make. You can't control what other people do, what other people say, or what's going to happen, but you can control how you react to it. And that's one of the keys to this. Later in my career, I went to the SSBN submarines. They carried the ballistic missiles around. Now, we had a lot more creature comforts on them. They were much bigger. We made our own water. We made our own oxygen. It was luxurious, and that, as far as that goes, compared to the other one. But you had to live with the fact that you were living within 100 feet of a nuclear reactor plant, built by the lowest bidder, by the way. But you had a nuclear power plant there. The other thing we had to do was the military had to figure a way to get us to actually be okay with launching a missile. Most of these didn't live through the Cold War, but we knew that the minute we launched a missile, or the minute Russia launched, or USSR launched a missile, we would know it, and they would know it. And that means they're going to launch immediately. So when you push that button, you're probably signing the death sentence for your family back home. So that's a big deal. So what the government did was we had drills constantly, but we never knew whether it was a drill or not. We had 16, this is the area that the boat I was on is unclassified at this point. They had 16 missiles on the ship, on the boat, but we never knew which one was armed and which one wasn't. And we would do a drill and have to shoot the missile off. So after doing that enough times, the thought is that you're going to be able to do it calmly because you never knew in the beginning. Rabbi Baal Shem Tov, is that it? Baal Shem Tov says, no matter what happens, whether people praise you or shame you, it's all the same to you. Whatever may happen, say, it comes from God, blessed be He, and it happens, and if it happens, it's proper in His eyes, then it must be for the best. Aaron, I hope I got the right person, but I'm pretty sure it was you. When I first got here, we were working on either the daycare or the coffee house, one or the other, and I had to run. I used your truck to run to Home Depot to pick up something, and I remember seeing it was a verse that was on the dash, and he did that so it would remind him, right, of that verse. Someplace you're always going to look. That's stuck in my head. I always remember seeing that. And I thought about this today with this and what some of the other rabbis say. One of them is Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. And he explained, when we sense that we stand before God, we consider everything in the world around us and in our personal lives to be shaviti, which is equal. And one of the rabbis suggested that we take this verse from Psalms. Psalm 16:8. It says, I have set God always before me because He is at my right hand and I am not shaken. He suggests that we write that on 2 pieces of paper and we stick one in our left pocket and one in our right pocket. And when things go great, we reach into our right pocket and read it. And when things go crappy, we reach into our left pocket and read it. Because it's all the same. If we can find a way, and I know I say it, and there's probably other people that say it, but if we say we have faith in God, we say we trust in God, but when the stuff hits the fan, how good is our trust at that point? So that's what I got to work on. And if equanimity is the desire, if you want that peace, that inner peace that can guide you through anything, then that's what is required. We have to get the trust in God to the level that we know it's for a purpose. And that doesn't mean we're not going to have issues. We're going to have issues from time to time. There's a time to mourn, right? There's a time for everything. There's a season for everything. But it can't control our lives. We have to be able to maintain emotional stability, because when we don't have it, then we don't have God.